Alright guys, so I don't know if you guys have seen, but the WNBA is melting down about a athlete named Sophie Cunningham, who's a WNBA player. She made a statement saying that biological men do not belong in women's sports. Now you'd think a simple comment like this wouldn't cause a meltdown with logical thinking people and women at the highest professional level. But unfortunately, the WNBA is a woke league. They're pro-LGBTQ, and they don't actually stand up for women. So this is causing some sort of huge meltdown among the league, and no one is siding with Sophie Cunningham, and they're actually ostracizing her for it, just for standing up for biological women. Watch some of these clips and get into what's really going on.
Something that seems to be a hot button issue in the WNBA right now is the question about trans athletes in women's sports. And I've noticed that they've been asking a lot of players and coaches this in press conferences and nobody can answer it. Please, someone remind me, what does the W in WNBA stand for?
Exactly. What does the W in WNBA stand for? Can someone please tell me? But it seems it stands for whatever, whoever. I don't know. It seems to be a crazy meltdown. So let's get into Sophie Cunningham's original statement.
On that same vein, in that story for ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah, do you see your...
So that's what she said. We must protect biological girls and women and children from men and boys invading women's spaces. You'd think that women would champion that type of opinion, because if you look at the polling, that's a 80-20 issue, probably 90-10. Most American women, or most women in America, understand that they fought for the spaces and the access and the things they have in today's society, and it must be protected in a safe place for women and women only. And when I say women, I mean biological women. Nowadays, it seems that feelings override facts. You can say you feel like a woman, slap on a wig, take a few estrogen shots, and now you're a woman. And I'm sorry, I just won't stand for that. So that very simple statement, she said, we must protect women's sports from biological men. I said what I said, it's common sense. That is what is pissing people off. In a game the other day, the owners of a team started attacking girls over wearing XXXY shirts at a game. That is how woke Seattle is. That is how woke sports have gotten. Let's read it. A night of celebration devolved into a storm of chaos in Seattle. Women who were at the Indiana Fever game against the Seattle Storm on Tuesday night told Fox News Digital that Storm players and even co-owner Celeste Keaton allegedly made mocking gestures and insults to girls who were there to celebrate Sophie Cunningham. Let's see, they made a statement. We are aware one of our co-owners made a comment to two fans in attendance at last night's game. We apologize for what happened. Everyone who attends a Storm game deserves to feel welcome, and we remain committed to creating an inclusive environment where every fan is treated with respect. That is a PR statement if I've ever seen one. That is BS. So let's look at some footage here. So you hear the mom say she's a minor. We have Porky the Pig here, 3 Porkies, woke liberal men, pussies. Look at him sassy, flicking his wrist at him. How pathetic. That's a man attacking children through a game. That is insane. That is insane. They're being relentlessly booed and attacked for standing up for biological women. So we've seen the statement. We've seen fans melting down, ownership melting down. This topic of conversation even has coaches melting down. Here is the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx. Here is the coach of the Minnesota Lynx wearing a Trans Kids Belong shirt in their game against the Indiana Fever. That is the team that Sophie Cunningham plays for.
You see Cheryl Reed wearing a shirt today in support of trans kids. Trans kids belong on the shirt. This in the aftermath of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments. We actually saw Cheryl and Sophie speaking at center court pregame. And Yesterday, Joe Reeves spent a lot of time talking at length with the
I think this just proves something. Women hate other women. That's what it is. Women hate other women. The jealousy amongst women is unreal. And the reason why women like this hate women like this is because she is a background character. She's unimportant. She wants to feel morally superior. She wants to feel like she's standing up for something, and she's thinking with emotions. Why is she thinking with emotions? Because she's defending how people feel. Women like this don't care about that. She's standing up for facts, the truth, reality. And that seems to offend women like this. And it's really a shame. It's really a shame. She's not supporting other women. She's not protecting women. She's not being a girl's girl. And girls love that stuff, but it really doesn't exist. It's all a myth. Okay, here's her post-game press conference. As you can see in this, they spoke. Let's see what she has to say in her press conference. Post-game presser.
Before the game, you had a conversation with Sophie Cunningham.
I did.
If you want to share what you talked
Absolutely
about, feel
not.
free. But
Absolutely not.
more of my question is just how important
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What did they talk about? Probably was being chill. She step away. She wants her 15 seconds of fame.
is it to have those like in-person conversations with people that
Oh, I think it's
have
great.
different
Yeah.
views?
I think it's great. I think both of us understand that we have platforms, and we both talk.
What I tell you, she wants to use her platform. Sorry. What did I tell you guys? She wants to use her platform. She wants to be seen. She wants 15 seconds of fame. She was never, I don't even know, maybe she was a player, but no one's ever heard of her because people have not watched the WNBA until the last 2-3 years maybe. So no one knows who the freak this is. Maybe a select niche group of people. And she wants to be a champion. She wants her 15 seconds of fame. That's what this is, guys.
Understand that we have platforms, and we both talked about wanting to, more than anything, educate. And there are some things that we have in common, and maybe some things you differ on, just like any issues. And I think it's how you handle things. And so it was nice to be in person for sure.
So she wants to educate. I'm going to educate you guys on the hypocrisy of people like this. She's a hypocrite. She doesn't stand for anything. She wants fame. She wants clicks. She wants to be the morality police. But I'm going to show you guys the reality of people like this. This is the same coach. This is the same WNBA coach who wore the Trans Kids Belong shirt to troll Sophie Cunningham. This is her complaining about men coaches taking jobs from women. Let's take a listen. Let's just cut that out as soon as she said that. But as you can see, she is taking issue with the fact that Title IX came in and now men are taking over women's spaces, is what she's saying. She's saying men are taking women's jobs. Ever since they introduced men, we don't get paid as much, and they took our jobs. That's what she's saying. But it's perfectly okay for a man to put on a wig, yet let one of those men put on a wig, say he feels like a woman, take a few estrogen shots, and then she would be, hey, you're a hero, you're a champion, even though you still have a penis, and you stand up when you pee. And 2 weeks ago, I was mad when you took my job, but now you put that wig on, you courageous. We must educate them. This is the reality of people like this. They're hypocritical, and their arguments are full of crap. They're looking for clicks. They want to be famous. They want to be viral. They want to be remembered for something. That is what they're doing. They're not standing for anything of substance. Now, it's even gotten to the point where transgenders are burning Sophie Cunningham's jersey because she doesn't support men in women's spaces. Let's take a look.
This jersey used to represent someone I respected as an athlete. Today it represents something I can't support anymore. Sports have the power to bring people together, but when someone uses their platform to demonize or marginalize an already vulnerable community, I have to decide where I stand. So today I'm not burning a person, I'm burning my support. As a trans woman, I've spent years fighting just to exist authentically. I won't spend $1 or another minute or another ounce of energy supporting people who contribute to making that fight harder. This isn't about hate, it's about accountability. My money, my attention, and my support are things people earn, not things people are entitled to. If standing up for the trans community costs me a jersey, that's a cheap price to pay. Choose empathy, choose respect, choose humanity.
All right, I want to talk about a few things. This person, this man, says that she fought years to exist authentically. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know anybody who has a problem with the fact trans people exist. You can exist. You can put on a wig and say you a man, a woman, do all that. Do what makes you feel your best self. I believe the problem people have is when you push your delusions onto other people and now the entire world has to comply. Like you said, you're a small community. You're less than 1% of the population. Why should the 99% change the logic, the way of being, the standard for you to feel okay? If you want to be a man and want to say you're a woman and slap on a wig, it's just some shit you're going to have to give up. And that's the sacrifice you have to make to be yourself. I'm sorry. Then she says, this isn't about hate, it's about accountability. What about the accountability of you acknowledging the fact that you're a man and it's not fair? You have a biological advantage to compete in women's sports and you're taking away the fairness. But we have to acknowledge your delusion and get rid of the fairness. What women fought for, their hard work. You can come in women's spaces and make it not safe. Now here's Riley Gaines, prominent pro-women, pro-biological women athlete, being harassed and attacked by pro-trans protesters. These people are crazy, y'all. These people are insane. Take a look. That's a man. Protect trans women. Running up on her, yelling with a loudspeaker. Trans athletes belong. Where do they belong? Where do they belong? Because a man does not belong in women's sports. It's not fair. It shouldn't be allowed. It's not safe. I'm sorry. I have a sister. I have a mother. One day I may have a daughter. I don't want them to compete with men, and I don't want men to invade their spaces. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's that simple. Look at this freaking weirdo. These are not serious people, guys. These are not serious people. Let's see what Stephen A. Smith has to say about this, because we know he works for ESPN. We know ESPN is woke, but let's see what he has to say about Sophie Cunningham's actions.
I think there's room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone. I truly think when you get people in the same room and you have conversations, you actually have a lot in common with a lot of people. I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected. And like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone. I can't applaud her enough. This notion that you're hating on the trans community because you are not a proponent of them participating in female sports is utterly ridiculous.
Facts.
Sophie Cunningham said every word right on the money. There's no hate involved. There's only love we're talking about. But what happened to loving girls who are born biologically as girls? What about their rights? What about fairness associated to them? Leah Thomas, I'm going to keep bringing that name up. 400th plus in the world competing.
Riley Gaines.
Transitions to female, and he was number one. If we're gonna act like transitioning from male to female doesn't involve an advantage for that trans athlete, I have nothing to say to you. You're not exercising common sense.
Facts. Facts, Stephen A. Stephen A. just spit straight fuego. And it's very refreshing to hear a very prominent, probably the most prominent sports commentator take the side of logic. And you want to know why he's taking this side? It's because he is a logical thinking person and he has a freaking daughter. He understands that a man entering women's spaces is not fair or safe to women. And it's an invasion of their space and the rights they fought for, and we should not support it. Thank you, Stephen A. Thank you. Now, the most disappointing thing about all of this is that Caitlin Clark refused to back her teammate, refused to stand with Sophie Cunningham. She did not take her back. She did not double down on this easy stance. That is disappointing because Sophie Cunningham has defended Caitlin Clark physically, verbally, stood up for her in multiple interviews and occasions. Now, to me, I interpret this as Caitlin Clark being a star. She makes a lot of money. She's arguably the face of the WNBA to a lot of people, to the majority, I'd say. So to me, her not taking a stand could stem from money. We know they don't get paid shit, and I'm sure she makes millions off the court in deals. So the fact that she may not take that stance may stem from that. That's just my assumption. But let's listen to what she has to say. Let's listen to what she has to say.
I think for us, it's not really a discussion we really have in our locker room. I think it's for leagues and the governing bodies to work with their athletes to find solutions, but our focus is on basketball, and that's what we talk about and how we can get wins, and obviously we didn't do that tonight, so we need to find an area to improve in that way.
Do you have any, reaction to the?
I just answered for you.
Alright, we'll go over to the Zoom. We'll start with Chloe.
I think.
Well, that was disappointing. She dodged the question. She shut it down. That was a great PR answer by Caitlin Clark there. She said, it's not on us. I want to focus on basketball, and I respect her for that take in a sense. She didn't politicize it. She kept it simple. She said, it's above my head. I'm not focused on it, which I guess, all right, but the problem is, I don't like that she didn't take her teammate's side, personally. A lot of people expect her to be this champion for their ideologies, and I don't think that's her job as a basketball player. Personally, I think I would have rather seen her take her teammate's side and say, hey, she's right. Men don't belong. But it's not her job. I know people have a lot of mixed opinions about this. They're calling her a coward. They're saying she's a sellout. They're saying she's weak. And I don't know. I don't know if I feel that way personally. I have mixed emotions about this. Like, on one hand, I really would have rather seen her double down on this point. But on the other hand, I get it. You could lose money. So it's best to just say nothing, But, yeah, I'm sick of this topic. It's really, to me, a very simple issue. As you can see, I made a TikTok about it. I think it's very interesting that a lot of people are pretending to dance around this question when it's really an easy yes or no question. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be back with some more content.